A police dog blocks a girl from leaving the store. And what she's carrying will shock every single person inside. You think you know what's happening. You think you know exactly who the villain is in this story. But everything you believe about this moment is about to be completely shattered. Because sometimes the most dangerous criminals aren't the ones we catch. They're the ones we create through our own judgment and assumptions. It was 3:47 on a Tuesday afternoon at Riverside Market. The kind of unremarkable day that blends into 1,000 others. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting that familiar artificial glow that makes everyone look slightly ill and everything look slightly cheaper than it is. The automatic doors slid open and closed with mechanical precision, welcoming the steady stream of after-school teenagers, tired parents, and people just trying to get through their shopping lists before dinner. Sarah Manning had been working the register for almost 4 years now. At 32, she'd seen it all. The holiday rushes, the late-night drunks, the desperate shoplifters who thought they were being subtle. Her eyes constantly scanned for the tells. The oversized coats in summer, the lingering in blind spots, the nervous glances toward the exits. Management had praised her 3 times for spotting thieves before they could make it out the door. She took pride in that, in protecting the store's bottom line, in being vigilant when others weren't paying attention. Marcus Chen, the floor manager, was making his rounds, straightening displays and checking in with his team. 6 years at Riverside had taught him that loss prevention wasn't just about catching thieves. It was about creating an environment where theft seemed impossible. The security cameras were visible. The security guards were visible. The message was clear. We're watching, always watching. The Community Policing Initiative had brought Officer James Chen and his K-9 partner Duke to Riverside Market every Tuesday for the past 3 months. A friendly face in uniform, a gentle reminder that law and order extended even to the produce aisle. Duke, a 4-year-old German shepherd with intelligent eyes and impeccable training, padded alongside Officer Chen with quiet confidence. The dog's presence alone was usually enough to deter anyone considering slipping something into their pocket. "Afternoon, Officer Chen," Marcus called out with a wave. "The usual walkthrough?" "You know it," Chen replied with an easy smile. "Duke likes to check if you've got any new treats in aisle 7. The employees laughed. A comfortable, familiar exchange. Just another Tuesday. The security room monitored it all. 12 cameras capturing every corner of the 24,000 square foot space. 2 guards watched the feeds with practiced boredom. They'd seen this movie before, and they knew all the predictable plot points. The morning rush, the lunch crowd, the after-school influx, the pre-dinner surge, the late-night stragglers, a rhythm as reliable as a heartbeat. This was the Riverside Market ecosystem. Predictable, controlled, safe, until it wasn't. At 4:12 p.m. she walked in. The girl couldn't have been more than 16. Dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, oversized hoodie despite the warm spring day outside. She carried a backpack that looked too empty, worn at the seams from overuse. But it wasn't her appearance that caught Sarah's attention from Register 3. It was the way she moved, like someone trying very hard to be invisible, while simultaneously checking every exit. Maya, though no one knew her name yet, walked with the careful deliberation of someone who had memorized exactly what she needed and where to find it. Her eyes darted between the store directory and the security cameras. She checked her phone once, twice, 3 times, as if confirming instructions or a budget or a deadline. Duke noticed her immediately. The dog's ears perked forward, his posture shifting subtly. Not aggressive, just alert, interested. "Officer Chen?" engaged in conversation with Marcus about weekend plans, didn't notice his partner's change in demeanor right away. Sarah did, though. She'd been watching the girl from the moment she walked in, and now the police dog was watching her too. Something was off. Something was wrong. New face, Sarah murmured to Tanya at the neighboring register. Hoodie in 75-degree weather. Tanya glanced up, following Sarah's gaze. Backpack looks empty now, she observed. Bet it won't be when she leaves. The assumption settled between them like an old friend. They'd seen this before. They knew how this story ended. In the security room, Camera 4 tracked the girl's movement through the health and beauty section. Her hands were visible, not grabbing anything yet. But the guard on duty, Ron Michaels, had been doing this job for 12 years. He knew the patterns. The way she kept looking up at the cameras, classic rookie mistake. Professionals knew where the blind spots were. Amateurs just looked nervous. Got a live one on 4, Ron said into his radio. Teenage girl, dark hair, gray hoodie, showing all the signs. The response came back immediately from the floor security. Copy that. Eyes on. Officer Chen finally noticed Duke's fixation. The dog wasn't barking or growling. Nothing that dramatic. Just a shift in attention, a focus that hadn't been there moments before. Chen followed his partner's gaze to the girl making her way toward the pharmacy section. You know her? Chen asked Marcus quietly. The manager shook his head. Never seen her before. But she's setting off all the alarms, if you know what I mean. Chen nodded. He did know. 15 years on the force taught you to recognize the signs. The too casual browsing, the constant awareness of who was watching, the calculation behind every movement. Maya moved with purpose now. First to the pharmacy section, where she carefully selected a bottle of generic pain relievers, the cheapest option available. Then to personal care, where she spent an unusually long time comparing prices on basic items. Each selection was deliberate, calculated. She checked the price of everything twice before placing it in her basket. The employees watched. The cameras watched. Duke watched. And in that moment of watching, assumptions crystallized into certainty. Judgments hardened into facts. The story wrote itself in everyone's mind before a single word had been spoken. What none of them could see was the trembling of her hands as she checked her phone again. The mental math she was doing with every item she selected. The weight of responsibility crushing down on shoulders too young to carry it. What none of them could know was that this ordinary Tuesday would become the day everything they thought they knew about a person would be completely shattered. But what none of them could have predicted was that this ordinary Tuesday would become the day everything they thought they knew about a person would be completely shattered. Maya's basket was almost full now. Painkillers, antiseptic cream, gauze pads, medical tape, and a small first aid kit. In the personal care aisle, she added deodorant, toothpaste, and a small bottle of shampoo. Her movements were methodical but increasingly hurried, as if racing against an invisible clock. Every few seconds, she would check her phone, a flicker of anxiety crossing her face each time she saw the screen. Sarah watched her progress from Register 3, eyes narrowing as the girl approached the feminine products section. There, Maya hesitated, checking prices with the same careful scrutiny. She selected the store brand, the cheapest option available, and quickly tucked it into her basket beneath the other items. Her shoulders hunched slightly, as if trying to make herself even smaller, less noticeable in the fluorescent-lit expanse of the store. Classic diversion technique, Sarah murmured to Tanya. Get a few legitimate items to cover what you're really after. Watch how she's hiding that package under everything else. Tanya nodded knowingly. seen it 100 times. They always think they're the first ones to try it. In the security room, Ron zoomed in on camera 6 as Maya moved toward the food section. Her hands never disappeared into her pockets or her hoodie. But there was something about the careful way she held her backpack that raised red flags. The way she kept it slightly open, positioned just so, ready for a quick deposit of merchandise. "She's good," Ron said to his colleague, Dave, who was sipping lukewarm coffee from a paper cup. "Hasn't made a single obvious move yet. But watch how she keeps the backpack slightly open. Textbook preparation. She's just waiting for the right moment when she thinks no one's watching." Dave leaned forward, squinting at the monitor. "You think she's working alone? Or is there someone else creating a distraction?" "Not sure yet," Ron replied, scanning the other camera feeds quickly. "Keep an eye on all the exits. If she has a partner, they'll be positioning themselves for a quick getaway." Officer Chen had positioned himself near the exit, Duke sitting attentively at his side. The dog's focus hadn't wavered from Maya since she entered the store. His ears remained perked forward, his body language alert but calm. The posture of a working dog who had detected something of interest. Chen knew better than to doubt his partner's instincts. In 15 years of police work, Duke's alerts had never been wrong. "What is it, boy?" Chen murmured, too quietly for anyone else to hear. "What are you picking up?" Duke's only response was a slight tilt of his head, his eyes never leaving Maya as she navigated through the bread aisle, carefully selecting the cheapest loaf available and checking the price tag 3 times before placing it in her basket. Marcus Chen, the floor manager, sidled up to Officer Chen, keeping his voice low. "Your partner seems pretty interested in our hoodie girl. You think she's carrying something illegal?" Officer Chen shrugged slightly. "Duke's trained to alert on various substances. Could be drugs, could be explosives, could be nothing. But he's definitely showing interest." "Want me to have security standing by?" Marcus asked. "Let's not escalate unless necessary," Chen replied. "But having them nearby wouldn't hurt." Maya approached the checkout lanes, scanning each one briefly before selecting Sarah's line. 3 other registers were open, one with no customers at all. But she chose the one with the cashier who had been watching her most intently. Perhaps it was an unconscious attempt to appear innocent, or perhaps it was simply the path of least resistance. She placed her basket on the conveyor belt, unloaded her items with careful precision, and reached for her wallet, a tattered thing held together with duct tape at the seams. "Find everything okay?" Sarah asked, her tone professionally pleasant, but her eyes scrutinizing, cataloging every item, looking for discrepancies between what was visible and what the girl might have concealed. "Yes, thank you," Maya replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She kept her head down, avoiding eye contact, as she counted out crumpled bills and loose change. Her fingers moved with the deliberate precision of someone who couldn't afford to make a mistake. Someone counting out money that had been carefully budgeted to the last cent. Sarah scanned each item with deliberate slowness, watching for any reaction. The painkillers, beep. The gauze pads, beep. The feminine products, beep. Each item adding to the total displayed on the screen. The total came to 43.87. Maya counted out exactly 43.87. Maya counted out exactly 43.87. Maya counted out exactly 1.0. Her fingers trembling slightly as she handed over the money. 13 cents is your change, Sarah said, extending her hand, noting how the girl's sleeve pulled back slightly, revealing a thin wrist and what looked like an old bruise, faded to yellow at the edges. As Maya reached for the coins, Duke suddenly stood up, ears forward, body tense. Officer Chen felt the leash go taut in his hand. The dog wasn't barking or growling, just intensely focused, his training preventing any aggressive display. But the alert was unmistakable. Years of partnership had taught Chen to read Duke's signals with absolute clarity. This wasn't casual interest. This was an alert. Maya froze, her eyes darting to the dog, then to Officer Chen, then back to Sarah. The color drained from her face, leaving her complexion ashen under the harsh store lighting. For a split second, something like resignation flickered across her features, the look of someone who had expected this moment all along. "Miss," Chen said, stepping forward, his voice calm but authoritative. "I'm going to need you to stop right there." Marcus appeared at Chen's side, security guards materializing from other aisles as if summoned by some silent alarm. The choreography of confrontation, practiced and precise. Customers in nearby checkout lanes began to notice. Conversations faltering mid-sentence, eyes drawn to the unfolding scene. "Is there a problem?" Maya asked, her voice small but steady. She clutched her purchased items closer to her chest, as if they might provide some kind of shield. "My partner seems to think there might be," Chen replied, nodding toward Duke. "Would you mind if we check your backpack?" The store had gone quiet. Other customers watched with that peculiar mix of discomfort and fascination that public confrontations always drew. Employees paused their work, pretending not to stare while missing nothing. The fluorescent lights seemed to buzz louder in the sudden silence, casting harsh shadows that made everyone look slightly guilty. Maya clutched her shopping bag closer. "I paid for everything," she said. "You can check the receipt. I didn't take anything." Her voice caught slightly on the last word, a tremor of fear or perhaps indignation breaking through her careful composure. "It's not about what's in the bag," Marcus explained, his voice professionally calm, the tone he'd perfected over years of loss prevention confrontations. "It's about what might be in your backpack. Our security team has reason to believe you may have concealed merchandise." For a moment, it seemed like Maya might run. Her eyes darted toward the exit, calculating distance and obstacles. The automatic doors, the parking lot beyond, the bus stop at the corner. A quick mental calculation of escape routes and probabilities. But Duke stood between her and freedom, and the circle of authority figures was closing in. The math was simple and unforgiving. There was no way out. "Fine," she said finally, shrugging off her backpack and handing it to Officer Chen. "Go ahead." The defiance in her voice was undercut by the slight tremble in her hands as she surrendered her belongings. Chen unzipped the main compartment and looked inside. His expression changed immediately, not the satisfaction of confirmed suspicion, but something more complex. Confusion, then understanding, then a quiet kind of shock that settled into his features like a weight. "Marcus," he said quietly, "you should see this." The manager stepped forward, peering into the backpack. His face went through the same transformation. The security guards exchanged glances, shifting uncomfortably from one foot to another. Inside was not stolen merchandise, not drugs, not weapons. Inside was a small first aid kit, already half used, the contents organized with meticulous care. A thin blanket folded neatly into a perfect square. A change of clothes, a t-shirt and jeans, worn but clean, smelling faintly of laundromat detergent. A notebook filled with careful calculations of expenses, columns of numbers with items like bus fare and mom's medicine, written in neat, precise handwriting. A small photo album with a cracked plastic cover. A toothbrush in a plastic case, the bristles frayed from overuse. And tucked into a side pocket, a hospital discharge form dated 3 days earlier for Patricia Alvarez, with instructions for home care following emergency surgery. And at the bottom, nestled against everything else, a small stuffed rabbit, worn thin with love and time. One ear was slightly torn and had been carefully sewn back together with uneven stitches. The kind of childhood treasure that someone holds on to when they've had to let go of everything else. "That's all I have," Maya said, her voice suddenly stronger, defiant even as tears threatened at the corners of her eyes. "That's everything I own in the world right now. Are you satisfied?" The question hung in the air, an accusation directed not just at Chen and Marcus, but at everyone watching, everyone who had assumed they knew her story. The silence that followed was deafening. Customers shifted uncomfortably, suddenly finding great interest in their shoes or the contents of their shopping carts. Sarah's hand froze over the register, the next customer's items forgotten. Even Duke seemed to sense the shift, his alert posture relaxing slightly, though his eyes remained fixed on Maya. In that moment, every assumption in the store collapsed under the weight of reality. Every narrative they had constructed around this girl in the oversized hoodie disintegrated, replaced by questions no one was prepared to ask, much less answer. Officer Chen carefully zipped the backpack closed and handed it back to Maya, with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with his earlier authority. Their eyes met briefly, and something passed between them. An apology, perhaps, or a recognition. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," he said, his voice pitched low enough that only Maya and those immediately around them could hear. "I apologize for the inconvenience." Maya took her backpack, clutching it to her chest like armor. "Can I go now?" she asked, her voice steady despite the unshed tears still glistening in her eyes. "I can't be late. My mom's waiting for her medicine." "Of course you can go," Officer Chen said, stepping aside to clear Maya's path to the exit. But instead of immediate relief, a new tension seemed to grip the girl. She glanced at her phone again, the screen illuminating her face with its harsh glow, and something like panic flashed across her features. "It's almost 5, she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "The last bus leaves in 12 minutes. Marcus and Officer Chen exchanged glances. The Riverside Market was located on the outskirts of town, where public transportation was infrequent at best. The next bus wouldn't come until morning. "Where do you need to go?" Chen asked, his professional demeanor softening slightly. "Oak Ridge Memorial," Maya replied, already backing toward the exit, her purchases clutched tightly against her chest. "My mom, she's waiting for these medications. I promised I'd be back before the nurses change shifts." Oak Ridge Memorial Hospital was on the other side of town, at least 30 minutes by car. By bus, with transfers, it would take over an hour, assuming she made the connection. Sarah, who had been listening from her register, suddenly spoke up. "My shift ends in 5 minutes. I'm heading that direction. I could give you a ride." The offer hung in the air, surprising even Sarah herself. She had spent the last hour watching this girl, suspecting her, judging her. Now she was offering her a seat in her personal vehicle. Maya looked equally stunned, her eyes darting between Sarah and the exit, weighing desperation against distrust. "I don't know." Maya hesitated, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. "I don't want to be a bother." "It's no bother," Sarah insisted, already signaling to Tanya to take over her register. "Really, I go right past there." This wasn't entirely true. Oak Ridge Memorial would add at least 15 minutes to Sarah's commute. But the lie came easily, smoothed by a guilt she wasn't quite ready to acknowledge. Marcus cleared his throat. I think that's a good solution, he said, his manager's instinct to resolve situations quickly taking over. Sarah's been with us for years. She's very reliable. Maya looked at each of their faces in turn, searching for some hidden agenda, some trap being laid. Finding none, she nodded slowly. Okay, thank you. Great, Sarah said, already untying her apron. Let me just grab my things from the break room. 5 minutes, tops. As Sarah disappeared through the employee's only door, an awkward silence descended. Maya stood clutching her purchases. Officer Chen pretended to be occupied with adjusting Duke's harness, and Marcus made a show of straightening items at the nearest checkout stand. The other customers, sensing that the drama had concluded, returned to their shopping with the slightly disappointed air of an audience after a show. I'm sorry about the confusion, Marcus finally said, breaking the silence. We have to be vigilant about loss prevention, but that's no excuse for making you uncomfortable. Maya nodded but said nothing, her eyes fixed on the break room door, clearly counting the seconds until Sarah's return. Officer Chen crouched down to Duke's level, scratching behind the dog's ears. You know, Duke doesn't usually alert unless there's a reason, he said conversationally. He's trained to detect certain substances. Is there anything in your backpack that might have triggered him? Medications, maybe? Maya tensed visibly. My mom's on a lot of different prescriptions, she said cautiously. I carry some of her medications sometimes, when I need to pick up refills. Is that illegal? Not if they're properly prescribed, Chen assured her. I'm just trying to understand what Duke might have detected. Before Maya could respond, Sarah emerged from the break room, purse over her shoulder, car keys in hand. Her Riverside Market uniform had been replaced by jeans and a light sweater. Ready when you are, she said with forced cheerfulness. My car's just in the employee lot. Maya nodded, relief evident in her posture. Thank you again, she said to Marcus and Officer Chen, the words formal and careful. I appreciate your understanding. As Sarah led Maya toward the exit, Chen called after them. Miss, I didn't catch your name. Maya paused, one foot already over the threshold. It's Maya, she said after a moment's hesitation. Maya Alvarez. Maya, Chen repeated, nodding. Take care. The automatic doors slid closed behind them, and just like that, the incident was over. Customers continued shopping. Tanya processed transactions at Register 3. Marcus returned to his office to file an incident report that would ultimately go nowhere. Officer Chen and Duke resumed their patrol of the aisles, the routine restored. But something had shifted, a small tear in the fabric of the ordinary that could not be mended. The walk to the employee parking lot was silent, both women lost in their own thoughts. Sarah's car, a 10-year-old Honda Civic with fading paint and a small dent in the passenger door, sat at the far end of the lot. Sorry about the mess, Sarah said as she unlocked the doors. I wasn't expecting company. She quickly gathered fast food wrappers and empty coffee cups from the passenger seat, shoving them into an already overflowing garbage bag in the back seat. It's fine, Maya said quietly, sliding into the cleared space. She placed her backpack carefully at her feet, the shopping bag balanced on her lap. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. Sarah started the engine, which coughed twice before catching. No problem, like I said. It's on my way. The lie was easier the second time. Buckle up. As they pulled out of the parking lot, the awkwardness between them solidified into something almost tangible. Sarah fiddled with the radio, settling. On a station playing soft rock from the 90s, inoffensive background noise to fill the silence. So, Sarah said finally, as they waited at a red light. Your mom's at Oak Ridge? Maya nodded, her gaze fixed on the road ahead. Emergency surgery 3 days ago. Complications from a previous procedure. She spoke the words with the practiced tone of someone who had explained the situation many times. I'm sorry to hear that, Sarah said, the platitude sounding hollow even to her own ears. Is she going to be okay? Maya's shoulders lifted in a small shrug. They say she's stable now, but there were complications. She'll need more care when she comes home. A pause then, if she comes home. The light turned green, and Sarah accelerated perhaps a bit too quickly. You don't have other family who can help? It's just us, Maya said simply. Has been for a while. Sarah nodded, unsure what to say next. She was acutely aware of the role reversal. Just an hour ago, she had been in a position of authority, suspecting this girl of theft. Now she was trying to make small talk while giving her a ride to visit her hospitalized mother. I'm sorry about what happened back there, Sarah said finally. At the store. We shouldn't have jumped to conclusions. Maya turned to look at her for the first time since getting in the car. It's okay, I get it. I probably looked suspicious. Still, Sarah insisted, it wasn't fair. We see so many people every day, and sometimes we start thinking we can tell everything about a person at a glance. It's a bad habit. Everyone does it, Maya said, her voice older than her years. You see a teenager in a hoodie acting nervous, checking prices on everything, looking at security cameras. What else would you think? The question wasn't accusatory, just matter of fact, which somehow made it worse. Sarah gripped the steering wheel tighter. How old are you, Maya? 16, 17 next month. And you're taking care of your mom by yourself? Maya nodded. She got sick about 2 years ago. It was manageable at first. She could still work part-time, and I picked up some babysitting jobs after school. But then she needed surgery, and there were complications, and then more surgeries. She trailed off, the story too long and too painful to condense into casual conversation. What about school? Sarah asked. I'm still enrolled, Maya said, a hint of defensiveness creeping into her voice. I do a lot of independent study now. My counselor's been really understanding. I'm keeping my grades up. Sarah nodded, impressed despite herself. At 16, her biggest concerns had been prom dates and college applications. The idea of managing a household and caring for an ill parent while still attending high school was almost inconceivable. That's really impressive, she said sincerely. You must be very strong. Maya shrugged again, uncomfortable with the praise. You do what you have to do, you know. It's not like there's a choice. They lapsed into silence again, the only sound the soft music from the radio and the hum of tires on pavement. Sarah took the exit toward Oak Ridge Memorial, the hospital's modern glass facade visible in the distance. Can I ask you something? Sarah said suddenly. What was Duke alerting on? The dog seemed really interested in your backpack. Maya tensed visibly. I told Officer Chen my mom's medications. I sometimes carry them when I need to get refills. Right. Sarah nodded, sensing there was more to the story but unwilling to push. That makes sense. As they approached the hospital, Maya sat up straighter, gathering her things. You can drop me at the main entrance, she said. Thank you again for the ride. You really saved me today. Sarah pulled into the circular driveway in front of the hospital's main doors. No problem, she said, putting the car in park. I'm glad I could help. Maya reached for the door handle, then paused. Why did you offer me a ride? After everything that happened, I mean. The question caught Sarah off guard. I don't know, she admitted. I guess I felt bad about how we treated you, and it seemed like the right thing to do. Maya studied her face for a moment, then nodded, apparently satisfied with the answer. Well, thank you. I won't forget it. As Maya climbed out of the car, Sarah was struck by how young she looked standing there with her backpack and shopping bag, framed by the imposing hospital entrance. Just a kid, really, carrying a burden no kid should have to bear. Maya, Sarah called, rolling down the passenger window. Do you need a ride home later or tomorrow? Maya looked surprised by the offer. I'm staying overnight, she said. They let me sleep in the room. But tomorrow, she hesitated. Tomorrow would be great, actually. I need to get home to pick up some things for my mom, if it's not too much trouble. No trouble, Sarah said, surprising herself with how much she meant it. I work the morning shift tomorrow. I could pick you up around 2. We could stop at your place, then I could bring you back here. That would be amazing, Maya said, relief evident in her voice. Thank you, Sarah. See you tomorrow, then, Sarah said, watching as Maya adjusted her backpack and turned toward the hospital entrance. As she pulled away from the curb, Sarah caught a glimpse of Maya in her rearview mirror. A small figure standing straighter now, squaring her shoulders before pushing through the revolving doors into the hospital beyond. Something had changed in the last hour. What had begun as a routine shoplifting suspicion had somehow transformed into... what, exactly? Not friendship, not yet. But a connection, a thread linking 2 lives that might otherwise never have intersected. Sarah turned up the radio and headed home, her planned evening of takeout and television suddenly seeming hollow compared to what lay ahead tomorrow. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of purpose beyond the routine of work and home, a chance to make a real difference in someone's life. She hadn't planned on becoming involved in Maya Alvarez's complicated situation. But sometimes, Sarah reflected, the most important journeys begin with unexpected detours. Sarah arrived at Oak Ridge Memorial Hospital at precisely 2:05 p.m. the following day. She had left work early, telling Marcus she had a family matter to attend to. It wasn't entirely a lie. Not anymore. Something about Maya's situation had wormed its way under her skin, creating a sense of responsibility she couldn't easily dismiss. The hospital parking garage was nearly full, forcing Sarah to circle up to the 3rd level before finding a space. As she locked her car and headed toward the elevator, she found herself wondering what she was doing here. This wasn't like her. Sarah Manning didn't get involved in other people's problems. She kept to herself, did her job, and went home. Simple, clean, safe. Yet here she was, about to spend her afternoon helping a teenager she'd accused of shoplifting just yesterday. Maya was waiting in the hospital lobby, perched on the edge of a vinyl chair, her backpack at her feet. She looked even younger in the harsh fluorescent lighting, dark circles under her eyes testifying to a night spent in an uncomfortable hospital chair rather than a proper bed. When she spotted Sarah, her face brightened with a mixture of relief and surprise, as if she hadn't quite believed Sarah would actually show up. You came, Maya said, standing quickly and shouldering her backpack. I said I would, Sarah replied, slightly offended by the implication. How's your mom today? Maya's expression clouded. They're running more tests. Her fever spiked overnight, and they're concerned about infection. She spoke the medical terminology with the practiced ease of someone who had become fluent in a language they never wanted to learn. The doctors say I should go home, get some rest, bring back some things she'll need for a longer stay. Sarah nodded, noting how Maya's shoulders slumped slightly with the weight of this news. "Then that's what we'll do. Where do you live?" "West Side Heights," Maya replied, following Sarah toward the exit. Sarah couldn't hide her surprise. West Side Heights was one of the city's more troubled housing developments, a place that featured regularly in local news reports about gang activity and drug busts. "Oh, I didn't realize." "It's not as bad as people think," Maya said defensively. "Our apartment is small, but it's clean, and the neighbors look out for each other." "I didn't mean anything by it," Sarah backpedaled, embarrassed by her transparent reaction. "I just didn't know, that's all." They walked to the parking garage in uncomfortable silence. As they reached Sarah's car, Maya hesitated. "I should warn you," she said, her voice low. "Our place is pretty basic right now. We had to sell a lot of stuff when Mom got sick, the medical bills." She trailed off, then squared her shoulders. "I just don't want you to be shocked, that's all." Sarah unlocked the car doors with a beep. "Maya, I'm not here to judge you or your living situation. I'm just here to help." Maya nodded, but the wariness in her eyes suggested she'd heard similar assurances before, from people who couldn't hide their dismay when confronted with the reality of her life. The drive to West Side Heights took 20 minutes, the landscape gradually changing from the manicured grounds of the hospital district to the more neglected infrastructure of the city's western edge. The housing development itself was a collection of aging apartment buildings arranged around cracked concrete courtyards. Faded playground equipment stood unused in the afternoon heat. A few residents sat on balconies or gathered in small groups near building entrances, watching with undisguised interest as Sarah's car, clearly not from the neighborhood, pulled into a visitor parking space. "That's our building," Maya said, pointing to a 5-story structure with peeling beige paint. "Apartment 3C." As they climbed the exterior staircase, the elevator had been out of service for months, Maya explained. Sarah noticed how the girl's demeanor changed. Here, in her own territory, Maya moved with confidence, nodding to neighbors, her posture more relaxed despite the obvious fatigue pulling at her features. Apartment 3C was at the end of an open-air corridor that smelled faintly of cooking oil and cigarette smoke. Maya fished a key from her pocket and unlocked the door, pushing it open with a slight hesitation. "It's not much," she said again as Sarah followed her inside. "But it's home." The apartment was indeed small, a combined living room and kitchenette, with 2 doors leading presumably to bedrooms. What struck Sarah wasn't the size, however, but the meticulous organization. Despite the obvious lack of furnishings, a worn sofa, a small dining table with mismatched chairs, shelves made of cinder blocks and boards, everything was spotlessly clean and arranged with careful precision. The walls were adorned with framed photographs and what appeared to be Maya's artwork. Detailed pencil drawings of landscapes and portraits. A bookshelf overflowed with well-worn paperbacks and textbooks. A small desk in the corner held a laptop that had seen better days, surrounded by neatly stacked school assignments. "Your home is lovely," Sarah said, and meant it. There was more care and personality in this small apartment than in her own much larger condo, which she'd occupied for 4 years without ever really making it her own. Maya seemed to search Sarah's face for signs of insincerity, then relaxed slightly when she found none. "Thanks. We do our best." She set down her backpack and moved toward one of the doors. "Mom's room is this way. I need to pack some of her things." Sarah followed, taking in the details of Patricia Alvarez's bedroom. Like the rest of the apartment, it was sparsely furnished, but immaculately kept. A hospital bed, clearly a recent addition, dominated the small space. Beside it stood a nightstand covered with prescription bottles, each labeled with detailed instructions written in Maya's neat handwriting. Photographs crowded the dresser. Maya as a younger child, a woman who must be Patricia in healthier days, the two of them together at various ages and occasions. "She'll need her robe," Maya said, opening the closet and pulling out a faded blue terrycloth garment. "And her slippers. And her own toiletries. She hates the hospital soap." She moved with efficient purpose, gathering items into a small duffel bag, checking things off a mental list. And her prayer book. She always wants that nearby. Sarah stood awkwardly in the doorway, unsure how to help. "What can I do?" Maya considered for a moment. "Could you grab her phone charger? It should be by the bed. And maybe check if there's any mail we need to deal with. It would have been delivered to the box downstairs." "Of course," Sarah said, relieved to have specific tasks. She located the charger and wound it carefully before heading back toward the front door. "What's your apartment number for the mailbox?" 3C, Maya called from the bedroom. "The key is on the hook by the door." Sarah found the key and made her way back downstairs to the bank of mailboxes in the building's small lobby. Locating 3C, she inserted the key and pulled out a stack of envelopes. As she turned to head back upstairs, a man's voice stopped her. "You a social worker?" Sarah turned to find an elderly man watching her from a plastic chair near the building's entrance. His weathered face suggested decades of hard living, but his eyes were sharp and assessing. "No," Sarah replied. "Just a friend helping out." The man nodded slowly, unconvinced. "Maya's a good kid. Takes care of her mama all by herself. No complaints. Works harder than folks twice her age." "I'm learning that," Sarah said. "She don't take charity," the man continued. "Tried to help her out when Patricia first got sick. Wouldn't hear of it. Proud, that family." He fixed Sarah with a penetrating stare. "So, if you're from some agency, looking to make trouble?" "I'm really not," Sarah assured him. "I work at Riverside Market. Maya and I met yesterday, and I'm just giving her a ride and helping out." The man's expression softened slightly. "Well, that's different then. Name's Earl. I keep an eye on things around here." He gestured vaguely to indicate the building. "Make sure nobody bothers our people." "I'm Sarah," she replied, extending her hand. Earl shook it, his grip surprisingly strong for his apparent age. "It's nice to meet you. And it's good to know Maya has neighbors looking out for her." "We do what we can," Earl said. "But that girl needs more help than most of us can give. 16 years old, handling adult problems." He shook his head. "Ain't right." Sarah nodded, unsure what to say. "I should get back upstairs. Maya's waiting." "You do that," Earl said. "And if you're really her friend, not just someone passing through." He trailed off, leaving the implication clear. Don't disappear on her. Back in the apartment, Maya had finished packing her mother's things and was now gathering items from her own room. Clean clothes, school books, her laptop. "Found the mail," Sarah said, setting the stack on the kitchen counter. "And I met Earl downstairs. He seems protective." Maya smiled for the first time that day, a genuine expression that transformed her tired face. "Earl's the best. He was a medic in Vietnam, so he helps me understand Mom's medical stuff sometimes. And he brings us dinner at least once a week. Says his old man cooking needs to be eaten by someone who appreciates it." She zipped up her backpack. "He pretends to be tough, but he's a total softie." Sarah began sorting through the mail. Mostly bills and official-looking envelopes from insurance companies and medical facilities. One large envelope bore the logo of Central City High School. "School stuff," she said, holding it up. Maya took it with a sigh. "Probably more makeup work. My teachers have been really understanding, but I'm still falling behind." She tore open the envelope and scanned the contents, her expression growing more troubled with each page. "Bad news?" Sarah asked. "They're saying I've missed too many days," Maya said, her voice tight. "Even with the special circumstances allowance, if I miss any more, I might not be able to advance to senior year." She set the papers down with forced calm. "I'll figure it out. I always do." Sarah watched as Maya moved around the apartment, checking windows, adjusting the thermostat, performing the rituals of someone who carried the full responsibility for a household. It was both impressive and heartbreaking. "Maya," Sarah said carefully, "can I ask you something? Where's your dad in all this?" The girl's movement stilled for a moment, then resumed with deliberate casualness. "He left when I was 11. Said he couldn't handle Mom's first round of health issues." Her voice was matter-of-fact, but Sarah caught the underlying hurt. "He sends birthday cards sometimes, with $20 bills. Like that makes up for anything." "I'm sorry," Sarah said, the words inadequate but sincere. Maya shrugged. "It's fine. We're better off without him, honestly. He wasn't much help even when he was here." She checked her watch. "We should probably head back to the hospital. Visiting hours end at 8, and I want to be there when the evening doctor makes rounds." As they gathered the bags and prepared to leave, Sarah noticed Maya casting a last look around the apartment, the gaze of someone memorizing a place they might not see again for some time. "You're welcome to stay at my place tonight," Sarah offered impulsively. "It's closer to the hospital. You could get a proper night's sleep, shower in the morning, maybe even do some laundry." Maya looked startled by the offer. "That's really nice, but I should stay with Mom. The nurses bend the rules for me because they know our situation." "The offer stands," Sarah said. "Anytime, even just for a meal or a shower between hospital visits." Maya nodded, clearly uncomfortable with the generosity, but too practical to dismiss it entirely. "Thank you. I might take you up on that sometime." As they locked up the apartment and headed back to the car, Sarah found herself wondering how this girl had managed for so long with so little support. The resilience required was staggering. At 16, Sarah had been concerned with college applications and prom dates. Maya was managing medical care, household finances, and her own education while watching her mother fight for her life. The unfairness of it all settled in Sarah's chest like a stone. Back in the car, as they pulled away from Westside Heights, Maya broke the silence. "Why are you doing all this? You don't even know us." Sarah considered the question carefully. "I'm not entirely sure," she admitted. I guess I saw something yesterday, when we were all so quick to judge you, to assume the worst. And then finding out how wrong we were." She paused, searching for the right words. "It made me realize how easy it is to look at someone without really seeing them. And once I actually saw you, really saw what you're dealing with, I couldn't just walk away." Maya was quiet for a long moment, staring out the window at the passing cityscape. "Most people can," she said finally. "Walk away, I mean. They see, they feel bad for a minute, and then they go back to their lives." "I'm not most people," Sarah said, surprising herself with the conviction in her voice. As they approached the hospital, the setting sun cast long shadows across the parking garage. Sarah found a spot closer to the entrance this time, the evening shift having opened up more spaces. "Thanks for the ride," Maya said as they unloaded the bags. "And for helping with everything." "I meant what I said," Sarah replied. "About staying at my place, or just coming by. Here." She pulled out her phone. "Let me give you my number. Call anytime, day or night, if you need anything. A ride, a meal, someone to talk to. Anything." Maya hesitated, then pulled out her own phone, an older model with a cracked screen, and entered Sarah's information. "Thanks," she said again, the word carrying more weight than its simplicity suggested. As Maya turned to head into the hospital, Sarah called after her. "Hey, Maya, what was Duke really alerting on yesterday? I know it wasn't just your mom's medications." Maya froze, then slowly turned back. "How did you know?" "Just a feeling," Sarah said. "You seemed too nervous about it." Maya glanced around, then stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I was staying at the hospital overnight, like I told you. But they don't actually let me sleep in Mom's room, not officially. There's a lounge on the 3rd floor with some comfortable chairs. The night nurses know me, they look the other way." She hesitated. "But hospital security has been cracking down lately, so I've been keeping Duke repellent in my backpack. The kind hikers use. It's not illegal or anything. But I was afraid if the officer found it, he'd figure out why I had it. And then the hospital might stop letting me stay overnight at all." The admission hung between them. Another layer of Maya's precarious existence revealed. Not just caring for her mother and maintaining their home, but navigating systems never designed to accommodate a teenager in her position, bending rules just to stay close to her only family. "Your secret's safe with me," Sarah assured her, "but my offer still stands. A real bed might be nice sometimes." Maya nodded, a ghost of a smile crossing her face. "I'll think about it. Thanks again, Sarah, for everything." As Maya disappeared through the hospital doors, Sarah remained standing in the parking garage, a strange mixture of emotions swirling within her. Sadness for Maya's situation, anger at a world that placed such burdens on a child's shoulders, and something else, a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. She had come to help Maya. But somehow, in the process, Maya had given her something too. A reminder that beyond the routine of work and home, beyond the easy assumptions and snap judgments, there were real people fighting real battles. And sometimes, just sometimes, a small act of kindness could make all the difference. Sarah got back in her car, but didn't start the engine immediately. Instead, she pulled out her phone and created a new contact, Maya Alvarez. Then she added a reminder to her calendar for tomorrow afternoon. "Call Maya. Check in." It wasn't much, but it was a start. The next 3 days fell into an unexpected routine. Sarah would work her morning shift at Riverside Market, then drive to Oak Ridge Memorial during her lunch break to check on Maya. Sometimes she brought food, sandwiches from the deli section, fresh fruit, bottles of water, leaving them with Maya or at the nurse's station when the girl was in with her mother. After work, she'd return to the hospital, often staying until visiting hours ended. On Thursday evening, Sarah arrived to find Maya sitting alone in the hospital cafeteria, staring blankly at an untouched cup of vending machine coffee. The girl looked worse than she had all week, hair unwashed, clothes rumpled, dark circles under her eyes, so pronounced that they looked like bruises. "Hey," Sarah said, sliding into the seat across from her. "How's your mom today?" Maya looked up, taking a moment to focus. "Not good," she said finally, her voice hoarse. "The infection's spreading. They're talking about another surgery. She pushed the coffee away. I don't know what to do anymore, Sarah. I'm trying so hard, but nothing's getting better. The raw despair in her voice cut through Sarah's usual reserve. Without thinking, she reached across the table and took Maya's hand. When was the last time you slept? Really slept, I mean. Maya shrugged. I doze off sometimes, in the chair in Mom's room or in the lounge when they make me leave. And eaten a proper meal? Showered? Another shrug. I grab stuff from the vending machines, and I use the sink in the public restroom to wash up. Sarah squeezed Maya's hand, then let go. That's it. You're coming home with me tonight. Just for a few hours. Shower, hot meal, real bed. You need to take care of yourself too, Maya. She expected resistance, prepared counter-arguments for all the reasons Maya would give for needing to stay. Instead, the girl just nodded, too exhausted to fight. The nurses have my number, Maya said. If anything changes with Mom, they'll call immediately. Sarah finished for her. And my place is 15 minutes away. We can be back here faster than if you were trying to catch a bus from Westside Heights. Maya gathered her things, the same backpack that had caused so much trouble just days ago, and followed Sarah to the parking lot without further protest. In the car, she leaned her head against the window and was asleep before they left the hospital grounds. Sarah's condo was in a modern mid-rise building downtown, close enough to the hospital to be convenient, but far enough from Riverside Market that she rarely ran into co-workers outside of work hours. As she pulled into her assigned parking space, she glanced over at Maya, still sleeping soundly, and felt a pang of something unfamiliar. Protectiveness, maybe. Or purpose. Maya, she said softly. We're here. The girl stirred, blinking in confusion before remembering where she was. Sorry, she mumbled. Didn't mean to fall asleep. Nothing to be sorry for, Sarah assured her. Come on, 15th floor. Inside, Maya stood awkwardly in the entryway, taking in Sarah's living space with undisguised curiosity. The condo was spacious and modern, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view of the city skyline. Unlike Maya's apartment, however, it lacked personality. Generic furniture, bare walls, no photographs or personal touches beyond a few potted plants. Your place is nice, Maya said politely. Sarah laughed. It's empty, you mean? I've lived here 4 years and still haven't really decorated. She gestured toward the hallway. Bathroom's through there. Guest room is the door on the right. There are clean towels in the cabinet under the sink. Help yourself to whatever you need. Thanks, Maya said, still seeming uncertain. I won't be long. Take your time, Sarah insisted. I'll make us something to eat. As the sound of running water came from the bathroom, Sarah surveyed the contents of her refrigerator with a critical eye. She wasn't much of a cook. Most nights she ate takeout or simple microwave meals. But tonight, that wouldn't do. She found eggs, cheese, some vegetables that were still good, and set about making omelets. By the time Maya emerged from the bathroom, hair damp and wearing the same clothes but looking considerably refreshed, Sarah had set the small dining table with plates, silverware, and glasses of orange juice. That smells amazing, Maya said, her stomach growling audibly. Nothing fancy, Sarah said, sliding an omelet onto Maya's plate, but it's hot and homemade. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Maya with the focused intensity of someone who hadn't had a proper meal in days. Sarah watching with satisfaction as color gradually returned to the girl's face. So, Sarah said finally, want to tell me what's really going on with your mom? The full story, not just the simplified version you give to people who ask. Maya set down her fork, considering. It's complicated, she said, and not very cheerful dinner conversation. I can handle complicated, Sarah replied. And I'm not asking to be entertained. I'm asking because I want to understand what you're dealing with. Maya took a deep breath. Mom was diagnosed with lupus when I was 12. It's an autoimmune disease. I know what lupus is, Sarah interrupted gently. My aunt had it. Maya nodded. Then you know it can affect different people in different ways. For Mom, it started with joint pain and fatigue. She was working as a medical receptionist then. Good benefits, steady hours. But as the symptoms got worse, she started missing work. Eventually, she had to go on disability. She paused, taking a sip of orange juice. The first couple of years weren't too bad. The medication seemed to help, and we adjusted. I took on more responsibilities around the house. We were managing. But then last year, she developed complications, kidney problems, then heart issues. The doctors tried different treatments, but nothing really worked. She needed surgery, then another one, and now... Maya's voice caught. Now they're saying she might need a kidney transplant eventually, if she survives this infection. The stark reality of the situation hung in the air between them. This wasn't a temporary crisis that would resolve with a few weeks of hospital care. This was a chronic, progressive illness that had already fundamentally altered 2 lives and would continue to do so. What about insurance? Sarah asked. Medical bills? Mom's disability coverage includes Medicare, Maya explained. It covers some things, but not everything. We had some savings at first, and Mom's parents left her a small inheritance. That's gone now. We've sold pretty much everything of value. The hospital has a financial assistance program that's helping with some of the current bills. But she shrugged, the gesture conveying more than words could about their precarious financial situation. And school? You mentioned you might not advance to senior year? Maya's expression tightened. I've missed too many days. Even with the special circumstances allowance and the independent study program. They're saying I need to maintain a certain level of in-person attendance or I'll have to repeat junior year. She pushed her empty plate away. I can't afford to do that. I need to graduate on time, get a scholarship, find a way to support Mom and myself. What about your teachers, your counselor? Aren't there accommodations they can make? They've already made a lot, Maya admitted. But there are limits, rules they have to follow. She smiled without humor. Turns out, my mom is critically ill, and I'm her primary caretaker, isn't actually a recognized category in the school system's attendance policy. Sarah shook her head, anger rising on Maya's behalf. That's ridiculous. There must be something that can be done. Maybe, Maya said, sounding unconvinced. But right now, Mom's health is the priority. I'll figure out the school stuff later. Sarah began clearing the plates, mind racing. There had to be resources, support systems, something to help this girl who was carrying adult burdens with such quiet determination. You should get some sleep, she said. The guest room is all made up. Clean clothes in the dresser. They'll be too big, but better than sleeping in what you're wearing. I can throw your things in the wash. Maya hesitated. I don't want to impose. You're not, Sarah assured her. I offered, remember? And honestly, it's nice having someone else here. This place gets pretty quiet. After showing Maya to the guest room and starting a load of laundry with the girls' clothes, Sarah settled on her sofa with her laptop. Sleep was out of the question. Her mind was too full of everything she'd learned. Instead, she began researching. lupus support groups, financial assistance programs for medical care, educational accommodations for students with family responsibilities. She created a document, organizing the information into categories, noting contact information and application requirements. Around midnight, her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Need you to come in early tomorrow. Inventory day, 6 a.m. Sarah sighed. 5 hours from now. She should at least try to sleep. As she shut down her laptop, she heard a sound from the guest room, a muffled sob. She hesitated, unsure whether to intrude on Maya's private moment, then decided that some burdens were too heavy to bear alone. Knocking softly on the door, she called, "Maya, you okay?" No response, but the crying continued. Sarah gently pushed the door open. Maya was curled on her side, clutching a pillow, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "Hey," Sarah said softly, sitting on the edge of the bed. "What can I do?" Maya shook her head, unable to speak through the tears. Sarah placed a hand on her shoulder, offering silent comfort. After a few minutes, Maya's breathing steadied. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I try to stay strong for Mom." "You don't have to be strong all the time," Sarah said. "Especially not here." Maya sat up, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "I'm just so tired," she admitted. "Not just physically. I'm tired of being scared all the time. Scared Mom will get worse. Scared I'll fail school. Scared we'll lose the apartment. Just scared." The raw vulnerability in her voice broke something open in Sarah. Without thinking, she pulled Maya into a hug. The girl stiffened momentarily, then melted into the embrace, her tears starting fresh. "I know," Sarah murmured, though she didn't, not really. She couldn't truly understand what Maya was going through. But she could be here now, offering what comfort she could. "I know it's hard, but you're not alone anymore, okay? I'm here. We'll figure this out together." Maya pulled back, searching Sarah's face. "Why?" she asked, echoing her question from days earlier. "Why do you care so much? You barely know me." Sarah considered the question carefully. "Maybe because I see something in you that reminds me of myself at your age. Or maybe because helping you feels like the first truly meaningful thing I've done in a long time." She smiled slightly. "Or maybe just because you're a good kid in a tough situation and that matters to me." Maya nodded, accepting the answer. "Thank you," she said simply, "for everything." "Try to get some sleep," Sarah said, standing. "I have to be at work early tomorrow, but I'll leave a key. Stay as long as you need to. There's food in the fridge, clean clothes in the dresser. Make yourself at home." "What about the hospital? Mom will wonder where I am." "I'll call the nurses' station in the morning, let them know you're getting some rest. And I'll stop by during my lunch break to check on your mom myself, if that's okay with you." Maya nodded, looking relieved. "That would be great. Just tell her I'll be there in the afternoon." Sarah paused at the door. "Maya, this arrangement doesn't have to be just for tonight. You're welcome to stay here as long as you need to. It's closer to the hospital, and you'd have a real bed, hot showers, actual meals." "I couldn't impose like that," Maya protested weakly. "It's not an imposition," Sarah insisted. "This place has 2 bedrooms, and I only use 1. It makes sense. Think about it, okay?" As Sarah closed the guest room door, she was struck by how quickly her life had changed. 4 days ago, she had been alone in this apartment, going through the motions of a life that felt increasingly empty. Now she was offering a home to a teenager she'd met while suspecting her of shoplifting. It should have felt strange, impulsive, even reckless. Instead, it felt right in a way few things in her life ever had. The next morning, Sarah left for work at 5:30 a.m., leaving a note for Maya with her spare key, instructions for the coffee maker, and a reminder that she was welcome to anything in the kitchen. She called the hospital from her car, explaining to the charge nurse that Maya was getting some much-needed rest and would be in later that day. "Thank goodness," the nurse said. "That girl has been running herself ragged. We've all been worried about her." "How's her mother?" Sarah asked. "Holding her own," the nurse replied. "The new antibiotics seem to be helping with the infection. Dr. Patel will be doing rounds around 11 if you want to stop by then." Sarah's morning at Riverside Market passed in a blur of inventory counts and restocking. At precisely 11 a.m., she told Marcus she was taking her lunch break and drove to Oak Ridge Memorial. She found Patricia Alvarez's room easily, 3rd floor, room 317, just as Maya had described. She hesitated outside the door, suddenly unsure of her role here. What was she to Maya? A friend? A mentor? Just a concerned stranger? How would she explain her presence to Maya's mother? Before she could decide, a doctor emerged from the room, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a tablet in her hands. "Are you here to see Mrs. Alvarez?" the doctor asked. "Yes," Sarah replied. "I'm a friend of her daughter's. Maya is getting some rest at my place today." The doctor's expression brightened. "You must be Sarah. Maya mentioned you might stop by. I'm Dr. Patel." She extended her hand, which Sarah shook. "It's good to meet you. Maya speaks very highly of you." "How is Mrs. Alvarez doing?" Sarah asked. "Better today," Dr. Patel said. "The infection is responding to the new antibiotics, and her fever has come down. She's still very weak, but if this improvement continues, we might be able to avoid another surgery." She glanced at her tablet. "Are you familiar with lupus and its complications?" "Somewhat," Sarah said. "My aunt had it." Dr. Patel nodded. "Then you know it's a complex disease that affects everyone differently. In Patricia's case, it's caused significant kidney damage. We're managing it with medications for now, but eventually she may need a transplant." She lowered her voice. "Between you and me, I'm concerned about Maya. She's taking on far too much responsibility for someone her age. It's affecting her health, physical and mental." "I know," Sarah agreed. "That's why I insisted she get some proper rest today. And I've offered to let her stay at my place while her mom is in the hospital. It's closer, and she'd have more support." "That would be wonderful," Dr. Patel said sincerely. "Maya needs someone in her corner right now." She checked her watch. "I have to continue rounds, but please go in and see Patricia. She's awake and could use the company." Sarah took a deep breath and entered the room. Patricia Alvarez lay in the hospital bed, hooked up to various monitors and IV lines. Despite her illness, the resemblance to Maya was striking. The same dark eyes, the same determined set to her jaw. She looked up as Sarah entered, curiosity evident in her expression. "Hello," Sarah said, suddenly nervous. "I'm Sarah Manning. I'm a friend of Maya's." "The market lady," Patricia said, her voice weak but clear. "Maya told me about you. How you helped her when she almost missed the bus. How you've been giving her rides." "That's right," Sarah confirmed, moving closer to the bed. "Maya's at my apartment right now, getting some much-needed sleep. I hope that's okay." Patricia smiled faintly. "More than okay. I've been telling her for days she needs to rest properly." She gestured to the chair beside the bed. "Please sit. Tell me how you two really met." Maya was vague about the details, which usually means she's hiding something. Sarah hesitated, then decided on honesty. We thought she was shoplifting, she admitted. Security stopped her, checked her backpack, found out we were completely wrong. She met Patricia's gaze directly. I felt terrible about it, offered her a ride to make up for it. And then, I guess I just kept offering rides, and meals, and now a place to stay. To Sarah's surprise, Patricia laughed, a weak sound that turned into a cough, but genuine amusement nonetheless. That sounds like my Maya, turning even a bad situation into something good. Her expression grew serious. She's an extraordinary girl, has been since she was little. But this situation, my illness, it's asking too much of her. I know that. I just don't have many options. She mentioned her father isn't in the picture, Sarah said carefully. Patricia's face hardened. Robert left when the medical bill started piling up. Said he never signed up for this. As if I did. She shook her head. Maya's better off without him. But she deserves more support than just a sick mother. She has me now, Sarah said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. I know it probably seems strange. We only met a few days ago. But I care about Maya. I want to help. Patricia studied Sarah's face for a long moment. Why? She asked finally. The same question Maya had posed multiple times. Sarah considered her answer carefully. I guess because when I look at Maya, I see someone extraordinary. Someone facing impossible challenges with more grace and strength than most adults I know. And I think someone like that deserves to have people in her corner, fighting alongside her. Patricia nodded slowly. Maya's always been good at finding her people, she said. Even as a little girl, she could spot kindness in others. She reached out a weak hand, which Sarah took carefully. Thank you for being kind to my daughter, Sarah Manning. It's my pleasure, Sarah replied, meaning it. Now, is there anything I can do for you while I'm here? Anything you need? Patricia smiled. Just tell me about yourself. If you're going to be in my daughter's life, I should know something about you. For the next half hour, Sarah sat with Patricia, sharing the outlines of her own life. Growing up in the suburbs, studying business in college, working various retail jobs before landing at Riverside Market, she found herself revealing more than she'd intended. Her parents' divorce when she was 12, her struggle to find meaningful work, the loneliness of her current life. Sounds like maybe you and Maya found each other at just the right time, Patricia observed. She needs support and you need purpose. Sarah was struck by the insight. I hadn't thought of it that way, but you might be right. As her lunch break neared its end, Sarah reluctantly stood to leave. I should get back to work, but I'll bring Maya by this evening. And the offer stands. She's welcome to stay with me as long as needed. Patricia nodded. Tell her I said it's a good idea. She listens to me, sometimes. She smiled weakly. And Sarah, thank you for everything. As Sarah drove back to Riverside Market, she felt a strange sense of lightness. The conversation with Patricia had shifted something inside her, solidifying her commitment to helping Maya. This wasn't just a temporary arrangement born of guilt or impulse. This was the beginning of something more significant, a relationship that might change both their lives. For the first time in years, Sarah felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be, doing exactly what she was meant to do. And that feeling, unexpected as it was, felt remarkably like coming home.